Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Story Darlings podcast. I'm Sandra.
And I'm Tera.
How you doing, Tera?
I'm doing good. I feel like I say that every single time, so I need to change up my vocabulary a little bit. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing better. It's been a crazy New Year time for me. Lots of changes. So exciting. I feel like it's a reset button.
Going into 2022, a new you.
New me. Yeah. We'll see about that. Ever the optimist.
Oh. Yes. Silver linings here. I got to see you last week, so that was fun.
I know. That was a lot of fun.
You're sweet. So sweet.
Got a little vent session in.
Yes. Got a little no kid time too, so that was always good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Well, I'm going to kind of give away my sour, but I have not been up to a whole lot. I've been sick this last week, and so I've been trying to work, but it has not been going well for me, and so I've been taking lots of naps, which is great, but it's also not so great because then my time just goes nowhere.
Yep.
So haven't gotten a whole lot accomplished. I did watch one more episode of Wheel of Time. So now I'm on episode 5, which I know Sandra has let me know is her least favorite episode so far. So I'm not really looking forward to it. Number 6. Okay. Well, I wasn't looking forward to number 5 because I thought that was the one that you're like.
Oh, I loved 5. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So maybe I'll watch that.
Yeah. Well, the show, if I had to rate it overall, I'd give it a mediocre score. It's fun. It's way different right now, and I'm enjoying it for what it is, but it's kind of a so-so show for me.
Is it just because it doesn't live up to the books, or is it because of flaws within the show itself?
I'm trying to put my finger on what exactly it is. I don't know if it's the costume. I don't know if it's the setting and stuff like that.
CGI, maybe.
Yeah, something isn't working for me. And I'm also I don't feel connected to any one of the characters yet. You know what I mean? I don't know.
They're trying to spread it out too thin.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's still, in my opinion, bouncing around too quickly, and I'm not able to spend a lot of quality time with any one person, so it's hard for me to get bought in and care about a single person, except for Lan, who is a side character, which, you know what I mean?
And that's mainly because of his looks.
That little tushy. Yes, that little butt.
Yes. Just gotcha. Just reeled you right in that first scene.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm enjoying it. It's fun, but is it one of my favorite shows right now? No. So
it sounds like the Shadowhunter series was for me, because that was based off of the Mortal Instruments books, and I loved those books. And then there was a movie, and I liked the movie. Some of the actors in the movie, I was like, that's really the character you're putting that with. But the show just kind of took it a little off for me. But
yeah,
it was a good show if it stood alone. If you didn't have the whole backstory of the books and then the movie, the show would have been fine. But
yeah. Okay, so you watched an episode of Wheel of Time. What else you've been watching, reading?
I have not been. Well, I did read a little bit more of From Blood and Ash, or whatever. I forgot what that one's called. Something like that. It's got blood and ash in the title. And I am now 50% through that book.
Woohoo!
So it is getting some good parts. Yeah. But then I had to take naps, and so threw off my reading a little bit. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I've been doing is napping and then trying to read a little bit of that book. Trying to be a little bit present for my kids.
Yeah, it's the holidays.
What about you?
Rewatching Witcher in preparation for the new season. And then Expanse started back up, which is like one of my all-time favorite shows. So I've been just kind of savoring that. And then I finished watching Squid Game, which was a very interesting show. There was like this major plot thing revealed at the end. I totally called it. And I knew that was gonna happen. Like that's what it was about. But it was a good show. It was interesting. Haven't been playing any games. Reading. I've been reading a couple like boring-ish material. I shouldn't say boring. Like one of them is literally a textbook on fundraising for work. So I can
What's
like
it
look at for
called?
uh fundraising excellence or achieving fundraising excellence. I can send you it. Yeah.
I had a book that I read for work that was about fundraising and how to do it, and it was not boring. It was kind of interesting. So I'll send you the title of it too,
Yeah.
um, with how to do that.
Okay. Is is yours nonprofit or just like business in general? This one's nonprofit.
It's nonprofit, yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't know, you can't see unless you're watching it, but it's like that thick. It's less than 100 pages. But it has like real world, like here's examples of what I did that was successful. And the guy worked at the Red Cross doing
Ooh.
fundraising.
Yeah.
And so he says like what he did, because it's a little different in like a health setting versus like my nonprofit, which is an education setting, and then your nonprofit, which is something completely different. So he gives like different examples of like how it's different, and the fundraising is a little different. Like he would make calls to just the general public, whereas like I'm very specific in who I'm calling and asking, whereas you would make general public
Yeah. I
like
would like to be more
asks.
targeted, but
Yeah.
I'm starting off very public. Yeah, this is like couple hundreds. It's a big hefty book and it's like me only coming from like a zero fundraising background and only doing this job for a couple months now. It's a lot of like definitions, like programs, what stuff means, where to find specific information. It's like basic stuff like that.
I've also been watching, it's a YouTube, and I'll send it to you too, but it's like basically the psychology of why people give money to certain things. And it's been kind of interesting. It's a YouTube where he's reading his entire book, which is a lengthy book. It's 5 hours worth of him reading his book to you. But it's kind of interesting the studies that have been done to say why people end up giving more money to certain like causes or certain
Yeah.
like campaigns than they do to others.
Can't wait till you link that in the show notes because I'll watch it. It'll help.
Yeah. Dang
We
it.
were just
I need
complaining
to.
about how long the show notes takes, and here's Tara just dropping things to add.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think about that. I'm like, why is she saying that? I'm like, oh man, I'm the one who's going to have to link that and link everything else that I've just mentioned on the books and stuff. So fun times,
But it's
fun
very
times.
helpful. Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
reading that textbook, and then I got a self-help book. It was a recommendation to me. The title is like eluding me right now, but it's a self-help book, and I got Andrea to read it with me. So we're gonna meet every week over coffee and do like the end of chapter exercises and stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I don't have to link that one. There was no title given.
ACT method. It's like a therapist recommended book. So workbook style. I can get that one.
Okay. Okay. I will link it then. Because, yeah, I think I want to do that one too. And
Yeah, I'll send it your way. And then I'm reading The Burning God by Rebecca Kwong. So that'll probably be my last read of the year. That'll put me at like 49 books, which isn't as high as last year, but whatever.
I think I've read more than that, but I don't track my books. So I just kind of like read them as I go. And like when I'm done, I'm done. But I've also, and I know I told you this, I've also gotten into a couple of the apps that Facebook, I blame Facebook solely for this, but they have like these little apps that, indie writers put their stories on, and they like go on every episode or whatever, and you have to buy the episode. It's sucking so much money out of me, because
This is
I
where
have,
Tara finds her smut people.
yes, it is. But no, some of them, most of them, I will say, are not very smutty. These are the ones that like bleep out words, and it's cracking me up because they won't put, well, this is gonna be inappropriate, but they won't let them write the word nipple or cocked because
What?
apparently that's a bad word. It's like when they're saying they cocked their head, they won't let them put that. So it's just like a bunch of like stars,
This
and I
is
have
so
to like
bizarre.
try and fill out like, okay, what word makes sense there? Like, what did they do to their head? Yeah. So um they're trying to keep them very PG, which is
That's interesting.
awkward
Yeah.
sometimes. And then some of them you can tell like the English language is not their first language because some of the words they use, or they're trying to like thesaurus it up and like change their words and it just doesn't fit sometimes, but I'm enjoying it some. So
Yeah. When you're not napping.
yeah, yeah, when I'm not napping. And I think it gets me because there's like an element of um I don't know, gambling kind of because they give you points as you read so much per
Everything
day.
is gamified. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like it keeps me motivated to like get my points. And like those points aren't really doing me any good, but I got them. So I'm going to have to stop because it's irritating me too that I'm spending like $30 on a freaking book that I'm then being like, that's not the word you wanted to use, or that word like should not have been bleeped.
Yeah, that's annoying. Mm-hmm. Tell me your sweet and sours.
So I kind of gave my sour away that I just haven't been feeling good this last week. I did convince myself to take time off work though, which normally I've felt like I can't do because there's always something I had to do. And this week there wasn't. And so I'm like, oh, I can take time off and nap and get myself feeling better and just not be drained all the time. So that's my sour. My sweet is that I did get naps. Like normally I can't go to sleep. I always feel like there's something I have to do. So that's good. And then I cut my kid's hair today because my son
You?
hates. I did. And not to toot my own horn, but I think it turned out really well. I did. I gave Michael like a little buzz up here, and then he still has the long part on the top. And then Carly, I just cut like about that much off at the bottom, which is like 3 inches or so, and gave her some face framing. I kind of messed up one side of her face framing, but it's okay. I got the other side better. So,
I took
yeah.
Vincent for a haircut, but yeah, I'm not even gonna try. I will just screw it up.
Well, I screwed Michael's up a couple times over COVID, like massively. I'm like, okay, we're just gonna buzz that. Did not turn out well. But I watched a video today and I'm like, I might be able to do this. And Michael just screams the entire time we're in the like hair salon because he can't stand the buzz. I think he might, I don't know. He can't stand his toothbrush either. If he has like the electric one, like the buzz just like bugs him.
That'll be something to look
So
up too.
I've been doing it. I'll send you pictures.
Yeah, Vincent is just boring. It's just all short. But he has a couple Christmas programs this week. So it's like Thursday and Friday.
Oh.
It's like they do one for pre-K and then they do one for like the school that it's at. I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's do this twice. Have two separate parties, two separate, it's like this every holiday, two separate things. So that'll be fun, whatever. But sweet and sour for me. Sour was jury duty. So I got the third call. First off, I got a letter summoning me in like August, and then they called me in September and October, and then again this month. And I did it, and it was a bizarre case. That's the only way I can describe it. It was a rape case that involved drugs, and this guy was just it's like stuff that you would watch on like a Netflix show, I feel like. I was like, is this real life right now? It was kind of that kind of out of body experience almost sitting there through it. So we had jury selection on Tuesday, and then Wednesday was all day sitting in court listening to evidence and testimony from both sides. And then all day Thursday was spent like in jury deliberation. And so we had a jury of 12. It was a criminal trial, of course. There's 5 women on it, 7 men. I was like the only person that was not completely white. Like everybody else was like
Which
old.
is weird because like it's supposed to be a jury of your peers, and like Springdale is not mostly white.
But I live in the Benton County side of Springdale, which is all,
Okay.
yeah. So if it was in Washington County, I'm sure it would have been. But I think Benton County is like 88% white or something,
Okay.
which makes
Okay. I
sense. But it was like literally all white, older people, like old people, white hair, like old. And then there was like me. There was a couple other females who were probably in their mid, late 30s. But yeah, there was, uh, when we were in deliberation Thursday, this man made a comment. So you'll find this interesting. So the plaintiff, the woman who was
mhm.
bringing all these allegations against this guy, she is 20 years this guy's junior. So she's in her 20s. He's like in his mid 40s. And he basically brainwashed her. He gaslit her and brainwashed her into believing that she was demon possessed. She grew up Jehovah's Witness, like very, very strict Jehovah's Witness, and had a very, very sheltered life. And she's a single mom with 2 kids who had just gotten out of a abusive relationship. So when this
Mhm.
guy met her at her place of work in a gas station, like he could see the bruises on her body. Like that's how soon after this relationship. And he basically targeted her. He's a predator.
Like
He,
Chris Watts.
yes, it was freaky. It reminded me of that. And it's not like this guy was an idiot either. Like he had a master's in literature, so he could speak on different topics and
Mhm.
he would self-teach himself different things, especially around language. But when he learned that she was like a Jehovah's Witness who grew up that way, he started educating himself on there. So he basically asked for her phone number at this gas station. She gave it to him. And then one thing led to another. And it's like 3 months later, he's like living in her house with her kids and all this stuff. It was crazy, Tara. So this older man on the jury panel was just like, I just don't understand. You know, if a woman gives her phone number to a man, that's an invitation, in my opinion. And I was like,
An
no,
invitation
no,
to
no, no.
what, dude?
I know. I was like, no, no, no. I was like, in my 20s, if I was, especially if I was by myself and someone kept bothering me, like for my phone number, I would just like, to get them to go away, I would give them my phone number and then I would just like make sure to never answer the phone. That's not an invitation. You know what I mean? And so he was saying because this woman gave out her phone number, that was like her saying she was interested in him romantically. So this guy
Well, even
shows
if
up
she
at her
was,
house.
like maybe she was. Okay, but like you don't know everything about this guy from the first 5 seconds of meeting him. If he then turns out to be a serial killer, you're not like bound by the fact that you gave him your phone number. Like it's
Yep.
not,
Yeah.
now I'm with you for life because I gave you my phone number. No, like
Yeah.
he's not allowed to do whatever the hell he wants to do.
No. And she never, like he asked if he could come over to her house and she was like, no, she has kids and all this stuff. And so this is in Pea Ridge, so smaller town.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently she has some kind of recognizable car. There's only like 2 of these just cars or whatever there at the time. And so he just showed up at her house after meeting her at the gas station and it was just like, "Oh, I recognized your car here, so I figured I would stop by. You know, I can play music. I have
Not
experience
creepy at
being a
all.
mentor." Not creepy at all. He's like, "I have experience being a mentor for domestic assault victims and children and stuff like that." That's how he sold himself to her. And so, long story short, he ends up just kind of persisting and pushing his way into her life to the point where, like, he introduced her to ketamine
Mm-hmm.
injections. So he called it a spiritual drug. So he was like injecting her with this all the time. But basically,
I
the
bet
three
he wasn't a
charges,
doctor to have the
no.
ability to
Mm-mm.
inject
This guy was
enough drugs
terrible
either.
news, Tara. Yeah, so the 3 charges was tampering with the investigation because he was trying to get her to recant her statement to the police and
Mm-hmm.
making death threats and stuff like that. So there was tampering, there was injecting another person with a controlled substance, and then the rape charge. And we
There should have
found him
probably been
guilty.
a threatening or a stalking too.
Yeah, you'd think.
Maybe that was like lesser.
Yeah. So, after all this testimony, which is like a friend of his, her ex boyfriend, she testified, and it was very moving, and she was crying and all of this stuff. Like, we found him guilty, and then after we found him guilty, we then had to deliberate as a jury panel to talk about the
Mm-hmm.
severity of his punishments. And we said life for rape. Basically, what he was doing was injecting her, and while she was out unconscious, he was raping her. Is what was going on. And it was just a disgusting case. But after the guilty charge, after the verdict was read, new evidence was presented by the attorneys, and he had like 6 prior felonies that went back 20 years, and it involved everything from death threats to attempting to manufacture and distribute meth to like stealing cars and credit cards, and like a year prior he had broken his girlfriend's nose, like punched her in the nose and lacerated it, and so there was that
Mm-hmm.
too. And so it was just like
So he
escalating
sounds
things.
like a stand-up guy who's escalating.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just freaky. And if you looked at him, like everyone has their mask on, right? And we're like facing him, and his eyes, Tara, like I can't even describe his eyes to you. I'm going to send you a picture of this guy. Like it is freaky. But I'm like always going to remember like his eyes. But yeah, so that's kind of my negative. Like all of these people that testified and stuff like this, and just everything that I was hearing, I was just like, what the hell? This is right here in Benton County. It was crazy. But yeah, he had her believing that she was possessed by a demon. And so any that time she did not comply and went against his wishes, he would say that that was the demon coming out. And he had her believing this, that either she was demon possessed or had multiple personalities. Like it was fucked up. Yeah. So yeah, that was that. So that's my
People are.
sour.
So
Yeah,
what's your
you would have
sweet?
loved it. My
I would
sweet,
have
I
loved
guess.
it.
Yeah, you would have loved it.
I mean, not the fact that we had to have a trial on this, but
No, but
the
what got
like,
me, Tara, was that kids were involved. So he was like in these children's lives day to day, trying to insert himself as a father figure, and just like
well, and if
he
he's doing that and escalating, there's going to be a point in time where he does something to those kids.
yes, and I wonder if he called the ex-boyfriend of this woman and was trying to like figure out how to delete stuff off his phone permanently so that people couldn't find it. And I'm like, okay, this goes beyond like having shrooms or drugs or anything like that, because everyone's already aware of that given his history. What else is he trying to hide? Type of thing. And this
Yeah, is it like a
also,
Duger?
yeah. Oh my god, the freaking that guy happening at the same time. But at least he was guilty. Piece of shit. Anyway,
Yeah. At least you weren't on that one because I feel like that
no,
one would have been.
I don't know how long that court case was going on. Yeah.
I think it was like 2 or so weeks. It was lengthier.
Like maybe that was the second time I got a call for that, that I had an excuse not to be on.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows?
I never get to go on those.
You
Like
will,
I
I'm
get like
sure.
called, but I never like there's nothing going on. And I know that there's shit going on in Colombia. Like don't get me wrong,
Oh
but like
yeah.
every single time I like I'm calling in, please let me come. Nothing. They're like, nope, we don't have any cases. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's
There's
never the
so much
people who
crazy
want to be on
stuff.
the case or want to be on the jury that get like called up. It's always the ones that are like, I'm busy.
Yeah. I was like, if I have to do this, I want it to be like some weird ass criminal case, and that's what I got. So yeah. Sour. Sweet. I'm finally getting a new phone. I've had this phone for over 4 years. I've had the same phone number, Kansas City phone number, forever since college or right after
Mm-hmm.
college or something like that. So I'm starting over, getting a new phone, getting a new phone number,
You gave
and
your phone number out to somebody and now you're
I
trying to
pulled
take
a, I
that
made the mistake the plaintiff did.
invitation away.
Yeah, no. I've learned some lessons. Hey, I'm growing.
I learned.
Yeah, so that's a sweet. It's like it goes with the whole theme of New Year. New Year, new me, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, so I exercised, and I know like I've been exercising,
Woo!
but like I've been doing like what I wanted to do, not really focusing on what this is going to do for me. And so I went to like this little charity thing and I bought this basket, and in the basket was a gift card to get like personal training. And so I went and I had my first personal training session yesterday.
Ooh.
And I learned that I was doing some of the exercises wrong.
No way.
Yeah. Imagine that, me doing things wrong and exercising. Um and so yeah. So
How are you
I'm going to
feeling?
be a new
Sore?
me next year too.
Woohoo!
But anyway, do you want to tell them what we're going to actually talk about now that we're like
20
30
minutes
minutes
in.
in?
Yeah. We are talking about Mean Girls today. I don't know. We might talk about the sequel. I didn't watch the second movie, but I did rewatch the first movie, and we've mentioned it a couple times, I feel like, on the podcast in different episodes. So we are finally going to talk about Mean Girls. Tara, hit us with a brief synopsis of the first movie.
So the first movie, we are following Katie Heron, who is portrayed by Lindsay Lohan. So this is back when Lindsay was like in her prime. Um, and she just moved from Africa to a new school. And one of my favorite scenes is when she's going through that cafeteria and they're like pinpointing like all the tables, but based off of like animals and like whatever. Um, but anyway, so she is going to this new school and um, kind of just her life at the new school and the cliques that are there, and then the mean girls that are there who are portrayed by Lacey Chabert, Rachel McAdams, and Amanda Seyfried, or Seyfried, however you say her last name. And they are just like this little clique that run the show in the high school and aren't very nice to people, hence the name Mean Girls.
Yes, they are known as the Plastics.
Mm-hmm.
The nostalgia was really strong in this one because I feel like I've watched everything Lindsay Lohan was. This is before or during? Was this during when she kind of went wild child or right before it or something like that?
I think it was
But
right before.
yeah, but like the casting for this is so perfect. Like Amanda as Karen Smith, the dumbass, is perfect because Amanda has those big eyes and she makes them go completely blank. Like there's nothing going on behind them. And it is hilarious to watch her. Like her brain just process at a slower speed than everybody else. It's so funny. But
She plays that
even,
dumb blonde very,
oh
very
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Very well. Because she plays kind of
Yes.
a dumb blonde character in Veronica Mars too.
There you go, bringing it up again.
I know. I'm going to make Sandra watch this show. Just going to keep bringing it up until it happens. Subliminal messages to Sandra right now. But no, I loved some of her lines in the show. Like I can always tell when it's raining outside, like her boobs. um, so that one gets me. But then I also love Gretchen Wieners, who is Lacey Chabert. And like her claim to fame in this is that her dad invented the toaster strudel. And so she brings it up all the time. And that's how she's in this clique. Like she's also not very smart. So I think Rachel McAdams' character is smart. And she pulls in like these dumb people around her to where she can be like the queen of the dumb people. I think that they're just hilarious.
Yeah, and her
And
mom,
fetch.
Amy Poehler. Like
Uh-huh.
I forgot she was in this and she looks so like different, like so much younger.
She's not a regular mom. She's a cool mom.
She's something. I cannot get the image of the dog chewing her like breast implants like through her shirt, just like really going at it. I cannot get that out of my head.
And then Tina Fey. So I think this is like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey's like first movie together, because like back then they were in everything together. They were in like, what was it? Baby Mama, and like they were in so many movies together. And Sisters, I think is what it's called, something like that. But anyway, so this is their first movie together and they make such a great team. It's hilarious.
Yeah. They were really funny in this. I don't know who the guy was that was supposed to be all dreamy and stuff, but I feel like he was such like the typical kind of guy around this time that everyone would think was hot just because he's like tall and his hair.
Aaron.
Yeah, whatever. I was
He
just
was
like
just
not
tall with
seeing
hair.
it. Tall with like that I don't It's not a bowl
That's what
cut,
you,
but it was basically like that long,
the
late
floppy.
90s kind of hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all
Jared
you needed
Padalecki
to
had that
have
hair.
in early 2000s is be tall with some hair.
Yeah. I love the fact that Lindsay, so Katie Caddy, that she grows up in Africa because her parents are these research zoologists and they come to the States and she's so sheltered because, hello, you and I can relate to that, I'm sure, in
Mm-hmm.
a sense. But she's also like this like nerd. She's good at math.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when they're just like, why math? And she's just like, it's a universal language, essentially. It doesn't matter where you're from. Math is the same everywhere. And I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I said that when I was younger too, because math is kind of
Yeah.
this common factor everywhere.
Even though this is kind of a fluffy movie, I think it hits on a whole lot of like true things that weren't talked about. Like she pretended like she was dumb in math, even though she was really, really good at it to make him like her. And back then I felt like that was kind of like the thing is people don't like smart girls. And it's irritating now, but I
Mm-hmm.
remember feeling that way like, oh, don't raise your hand, don't answer the question because, like, then you're smarter than them or whatever. Um, and so I liked that. And then I also liked the kind of just her getting sucked into that popular crowd and her changing her behavior because of that.
Yeah, when Janice says to her, "You smell like a baby prostitute," after she's had like her little makeover to fit in with the plastics, that line got me. I love Janice. Like Janice's persona as a whole, I loved her.
Yeah. She was also the very both her and I forgot the guy's name, but they
Damien?
were very honest and true to themselves. And I feel like in the like when I look back to like my high school days, like those kind of people were never the popular ones. They were always the ones like on the outskirts. And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to name names, but I can think of a couple that I'm like, yep, that would have been the Jameson, whatever his name is.
It was probably us. Just
No, I think we were like the Katies. Like we were the book people trying to like make ourselves dumber to like fit in and
I guess.
so
I feel like I
sheltered
just
we didn't know
wanted.
what was going on.
Oh, no, the scene. So her first week of school, whenever she's like overwhelmed at lunchtime and she's just sitting in the bathroom stall. Okay, when my dad retired from the Navy and we moved from San Diego back to Arkansas, I was 15, sophomore year of high school. I remember feeling like so shy and overwhelmed because everyone knew each other. I spent so many lunchtimes in the bathroom stall or like in the library hiding. Like I wouldn't eat. I would just like hide in one of those two places and try not to cry because awkward. Yeah.
You
Relatable.
probably didn't have any makeup on to worry about if you were any.
No, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup until I was like 16. So 15, yeah, wasn't even wearing makeup. So then I just felt even more insecure because I feel like
Yeah.
there were a lot of
And
these
you went
plastics.
to at 15, where were you going? Was it Southwest or Central?
Neither. It was Springdale High.
I get
Sophomore.
so mixed up with like ages in high school. I'm like, how old were we when we started?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started like freshman year and half of sophomore year. I was at a high school in San Diego and then I came like halfway through sophomore year at Springdale High, which is now the bad school in Springdale. It's
Yeah, because Harbor's like the
nice
wealthier
school
side.
and the new side.
I mean, I think Springdale High School looks really nice
Oh yeah, they've done a lot to it. I
from the outside.
didn't
There's so
even
many like different things. Like there's like three baseball fields, two soccer fields, tennis.
huge
Like
football stadium. Yeah.
there's a lot going on there. I haven't seen Harbor High, but because that got built the year after we
Yeah.
graduated. So
It's a little posh.
yeah. Well, it's built in like that subdivision, isn't it?
It is.
I find it amusing that they like combined Harvey and Bernice Jones's name to Harbor High.
Yeah. It kind of works now, but it's
Yeah,
so weird.
it's just kind of funny. Yeah.
Yep. So back to the movie. So Katie in embedding herself into this trio of the plastics, she kind of just reports back to Damien and Janice about like what they're talking about and all of this stuff. And we come to figure out that there's this thing called a burn book, which becomes like one of the little major plot things of the movie. And I was trying to think back and remember if there was such a thing. Like we had similar things. Like, I mean, everyone has the yearbook where everyone puts all their, thoughtful comments to each other there if they're friends. Senior year, I remember having a notebook type of thing, but it was like never anything mean. But it was kind of the same thing, but just like oh your dreams and like stuff about other people, and there were like little prompts that you could write in it. I don't know if you had one of those. There's things that are written about pretty much everybody in there, but like Regina, George, Miss Queen Bee, Rachel McAdams, and I think Katie plans with Damien and Janice how to take her down, right? And so they have like this
Yeah.
three-pronged thing that they're going to do, which is to make her lose the guy, to make her lose her friends, her army of skanks, as Janice calls them, and then to make her lose her hot bod, which
Yeah.
I think is one of the funniest parts of the movie.
Yeah. So they make her lose the guy because she's cheating on him with, was it his like best friend or something?
Yeah, it was a
Like,
friend.
yeah. And so they like, she's cheating on him in like whatever the room is with like the like microphone for like sports games or whatever. I don't know, the press box. I don't know. And so they like record them or like the sound or like turn the sound on or something.
They keep trying to get the boyfriend up there. They're like, "Oh, someone stole my thing. Like I think they ran that way." They keep trying to get
Oh
him to like
yes.
walk in
And
on
then
it
like
happening.
the sign on the door, like not this one, someone
Yeah.
else.
It doesn't it end up being like the coach with making out with one of the Asian girls at one point when he finally goes up there and we see it is the coach. So yeah, that was funny because
And that
they
was in
had
the
been
burn book, which is kind
yeah.
of funny because he was like making out with multiple Asian chicks, so then they fight because they're all mad that like they're
Yeah.
both dating the like 40 something year old coach, which is just
So
gross. But
gross.
anyway,
But I love
and
how this
then
movie made fun of that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then they make her lose her army of skanks by basically being truthful of what she's saying about them. And like there's a three-way phone call or a four-way phone call, I don't remember, where they're all talking and like one person tells the other one that she called them a skank or whatever. And like they're just all going around. And so they all tell her no, that they don't want to hang out with her because yeah, she's been bad mouthing everybody.
Yeah. She gets her just desserts. And speaking of desserts, it's like to lose her hot bod, Katie starts giving her these bars and she says, "Oh, it's like from Sweden or something." And she can't read the language, the nutrition label on it. And then one of the school athletes is basically like, "Oh, why are you eating these? This is what they, give us to up our weight class." And she's just like, starts screaming and has this epic meltdown about it. The fact that Katie has been sabotaging her and making her waistband increase.
Well, and she sits down and they have these very specific rules that they can't wear like sweatpants and they can't like do all these things and they have to wear pink on certain days. Like on
Wednesday.
Wednesdays we wear pink. Um but she sits down after she's gained a little weight and she's wearing sweatpants. Or like, you can't sit with us wearing sweatpants. And she's like, this is all that fits me. And so, yeah, that's kind of sad because I mean, I felt for her in that moment, but
Yeah. But they're all so stupid. And it's like for the talent show or the holiday show or whatever the hell it is, and
mhm.
she moves Katie to her left-hand side, and then she moves Gretchen over to the right side, and Gretchen's like, "But I'm always on your left." And she's like, "Move now." And so they're on the stage performing, and Gretchen is getting like so hung up on being on the wrong side, and she just like messes up their performance. And then Katie comes in and has them, they start acapelling it, basically.
Mhm. Yeah.
Saves the day.
I find it, I don't know, it's just very funny watching the drama ensue
Yeah.
and her getting fat and losing
Fat
everything that
quotation
she,
marks.
yeah, I mean, she's less weight than I am, but yeah.
Yeah, and I like when bless Karen's heart. She's just so dumb. It's like it's when Regina is just feeling miserable and down in the dumps, and Karen's just like, "Let's go do something fun. Let's go to Taco Bell." And Regina just like her head snaps to Karen. She's like, "I can't go to Taco Bell. I'm on an all carb diet. You're so stupid, Karen." And Karen is just like kind of
And
recoils.
who is it that asks, is butter a carb? Because when
I
she's
think
on the
it's
all carb diet,
is it Regina? I think it might be Regina
I think
asking.
it might be, but like I'm just like, dude, everybody knows butter's not good for you.
Yeah.
Not
I
good.
also liked when the Burn book comes out and it's spreading like wildfire and the high school basically becomes a jungle and people are like jumping each other and attacking each other and they have like wildcat sounds when people are going at each other and all this stuff. So the principal calls everyone into the gymnasium. Well, all of the females. That was another thing that kind of made me roll my eyes, but I know they were doing it just, to poke fun at it. Is like having all of the girls go into the gym to have a talk, and Damien, of course, goes into the gym with the girls because he's one of us. And they're trying to make everyone kind of make up, and it's like, okay, by show of hands, who here feels like they have been personally, victimized by Regina George? And everyone's just like this, and the teachers too. It's so funny.
Well, and Damien's there too, even though like it's supposed to be all girls. He like just sneaks in and somebody else sneaks in from a different school and they're like, yep, yep, me too. So you see that like her reign of terror isn't just focused on this school. And Damien's like, she doesn't even go here.
Yeah. And they kick her out. That was funny. There was the girl that made the wide set vagina. She's like, I can't help it if I have a heavy flow and a wide set vagina. It's like that line gets me every
Well,
time.
and which one of them said something really stupid on the stage and so they let her fall? They were doing like the trust falls. I think it was Gretchen because she's like, I
Yeah,
can't help it if everybody just loves me or something like that.
yeah.
And
And
so
it's only
everybody just let her
Karen.
fall.
Karen is like the stupid one just standing there, like,
She's like, I
okay,
didn't
I'll catch
notice.
her. And they like both fall back. Yeah.
That scene got me too because I'm like, dude, we're talking about like you guys not being all that, and you're just gonna. And I think she brings up her dad being a like paste whatever the inventor of like
This is the
there too.
strudel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was also like the spring fling moment because everyone's wondering who's going to be the spring fling queen. Like, is it going to be Regina? Is it going to be Katie? And I love the scene where Karen is getting ready to go to the spring fling and she's like in the mirror putting those little gemstones, the
Mm-hmm.
letter K, and does it like the mirror image of it where it's
Backwards.
backward. She's so stupid.
I
Oh,
also like so before that, Katie and Rachel McAdams' character, what's
Regina.
her name? Regina, were talking or whatever, and she walks out in front of a bus, and everybody's like, did Katie like push her? Like, what happened? And so she's up on the stage as they're like determining who wins this spring queen, and she's got like her like whatever like traction for her neck
Head
because it broke her neck or whatever her head brace thing, and she's just standing there like turning
full body
and
twist.
it's yeah it cracks me up because I'm like you kind of deserved it but
Yeah, she did.
um but then Katie ends up winning, right?
She does, yeah. And then she like this is like the most just the dumbest scene because she breaks the crown and she keeps breaking it into all the pieces. And I'm just like, how big was this crown? Because she keeps tossing pieces out to
And how
different
easy
people.
is it to break?
I know, I'm like it's like a little 50 cent like plastic tiara or something. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was. And then I like the end of the movie when it was like the upcoming class and it shows you
Mm-hmm.
like three plastics type of girls. And so that made me wonder if that was like a setup for if a later movie came. But you've seen the sequel, so which I don't know
Yeah.
anything about.
So the sequel kind of follows, it's a different high school. So it's not the same plastics at that. Well, I think it's a different high school. I could be wrong. But anyway, so this chick moves from Ohio, I think, to the new high school. So she's new there. Um, her dad is a like mechanic and he works with NASCAR. And so not well off at all. I mean, kind of well off, but her mother had died and stuff. So it's just him and her. And she's a little bit of a tomboy. She likes working with her dad on the car and whatnot. And she's going to this high school. And from what I remember, she never tries to get in with them. She always just knows who she is and doesn't fall for that, kind of like Katie did. But they don't like her because they see her as a threat. The guys like her because she's more the tomboy and likes the things that they like and all of those. And so they try and make her life a living hell. And she befriends a girl named Abby, who turns out to be very, very, very wealthy. And so Abby and her kind of team up to push back
On the plastics of their,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
So very similar, but just a slight different take. Like there's not as much drama outside of
Was the
these
writing as
two
good?
groups going at it. Like, whereas there was a lot of drama
Yeah.
for the whole
I don't
school.
know. Yeah, I don't know if the writer was the same as the first movie, but was the dialogue, like the script, as sharp as the original?
It was definitely a sequel.
Okay. I'm watching Tara's face and she's just like, I'm gonna be nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a sequel. If you watched it without like it's kind of like the shows that we were talking about earlier, Wheel of Time and
Hmm.
Shadow Hunters. If you watch it for its own stuff, it's okay.
Yeah,
It's probably like a 7 out of 10.
yeah,
But if you watch it wanting it to live up to Mean Girls 1, it's not gonna go there for you. But
yeah,
I think it's kind of cute. It's definitely a straight to video sequel, but still kind of cute.
yeah. It's hard to top Mean Girls. It came out 2005, so I mean, what, we were 20-ish,
Mm-hmm.
and but there's have been so many things that have taken influence from Mean Girls. I mean, we did an episode on Jennifer's Body earlier and had that same kind of humor, but
Mm-hmm.
it took it up a notch in terms of like the filth. And
Well, and it also had Amanda in there too.
yes, it had Miss Amanda in it. And then even this concept of the plastics, you see it with Kissing Booth with the OMGs. So it's like that same
Mm-hmm.
type of stereotype of girls in high school that kind of rule everything and everyone
Mm-hmm.
just puts them on a pillar and wants to be them. There was that girl that was basically like an obsessive fan for the plastics. She's like, "Oh, Regina like punched me in the face," and just like treating it like it was a gift.
Isn't she the wide set vagina one too?
Yes, she's the wide set
Okay.
vagina girl.
Okay. I was like, isn't that the same person?
She needs help. She's having some problems. So yeah, I
But the
mean,
second movie did have a pretty decent cast, if I remember correctly, because it had the chick from Vampire Diaries that played one of the originals. I
yeah,
forgot
I
what her
haven't
name
watched
is
that.
in there.
Mm.
Claire Holt. So she was really good. So it wasn't as bad as like a straight to DVD sequel usually is because you have like a no name cast that
Yeah, it's just a
you
standard
kind of
sequel.
question their acting ability too
Yeah.
in there. So,
Speaking of sequels, Matrix 4 comes out or came out by the time this episode's released. I'm like so excited about it. I'm giddy. I love the Matrix. It just reminds me of San Diego, like being a teenager in San Diego. Because I first watched it like at military base. So I'm so excited about that one. Hopefully it lives up to the hype.
well, it's got Keanu in it, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. I just as
I
an
don't
older man, I love him. I like
I
Capital L. Love him.
I haven't seen a movie where I didn't like Keanu in it.
Oh, man, the John Wick movies are amazing. I
Yeah,
love
like he
them.
hasn't lost his edge. So I
Mm-mm.
would assume that this one's gonna stay pretty similar. Like it's got original cast, and
Oh yeah.
so I think where sequels go wrong is they start replacing original cast and they lose the integrity of the movie.
Yeah. Get different
They
writers
replace
on.
writers, they replace
Mm-hmm.
producers, they replace directors, and then you have like just a basically different movie.
Yeah.
So you guys tell us what you think about Mean Girls. If you grew up with it, how did it make you feel then? And rewatch it now. See if you have the same feelings about it.
Yeah.
Because I remember in high school I hated them with a passion. And now I'm like, you know what? Like they didn't have a great parent life. Like, it probably wasn't all them being a horrible person. It was probably, related to how they grew up and them trying to just force some control into it.
Yeah, when I was rewatching this, I was just cringing just because Katie, when she first gets there, I was like, oh my God, I just relate so much. This is painful to watch. I was just like, ugh. Brainy and wanting to fit in and be accepted so bad. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I remember
heaven
feeling that
forbid you be
way.
too smart for a guy.
And heaven forbid you change or you don't change it, who you are as a person completely to make other people like you.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster and depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being a 30-year-old who doesn't know who you are.
Mm, Tara's not speaking from an experience at all for either
This
of
is
us.
not, yes, this is
Let's bring
not
it back up. Let's
personal.
bring it back up.
But no, one of my favorite scenes is that Christmas scene in the movie. Like that was the first moment that I'm like, she pulled her power back a little bit. Like she took what made her special back and turned it into everybody enjoying their dance and whatnot.
Speaking of the dance, the little sister, Regina's sister, every time it had her like in front, like doing those dance, like milkshake song, because that used to be all the rage back in the day. And she's just like dancing very suggestively in front of the TV. And she's like freaking 7 years old or something.
She would definitely be on TikTok nowadays.
Yep, she would be on
If
TikTok, which I
if
still
there
don't
was
understand how to use.
a remake this year, she would definitely be the one on TikTok being very inappropriate.
And she'd have like 1 million followers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think if they did remake it, go with me here because I want to go through the characters and see what we think that they would be doing now if they remade this movie, like how they would remake this movie 2021 style. So I feel like Regina and the plastics would be influencers for sure.
Oh
Like
yeah.
Instagram and they'd be
Everything would
like
be.
Addison Rae and all of them.
Yeah, another thing that was like memory lane basically is like, yeah, the mall used to be the go-to hangout spot. And so you had them at the mall, and just like that's where everyone was hanging out by the fountain in the cafeteria, like the big eating area and stuff. And I'm just like, do they still do that today? Like, do they?
They do. They do. It's sad, I think, because there's like 3 stores in the mall, but yeah, they still go to the mall to hang out.
I feel like
Because,
these
like, where
girls
else are they going to
today,
go?
I feel like it would be a more sophisticated eating and shopping area if they were girls today, not like just some big indoor mall if they were to redo it.
Like a downtown area kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. More higher scale shopping and things to do.
Thinking like the plaza in Kansas City, like all their fountains and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally see that. Social media though,
Yeah.
that would be like a huge deal in a remake. I
Yeah.
can't believe this is 16 years ago. I just feel so freaking old.
I know. And
You're
we
gonna get to
we
deal with
weren't
this soon with
young when
Carly.
this came out. Like we weren't in high school anymore.
No.
that makes me feel old because like
But I
16 years
still
ago,
had a
we were
lot of
like
the same
young.
emotions in
Hmm.
college because college was smaller than high school for us.
Well,
Like,
and I think our college experience was everybody else's high school experience.
exactly. For
I think
sure.
we were living the high school life a few years too late. Uh, I think everybody else had a little bit of a jump start on us because we were just figuring out what things were. That's the story of our lives. We're just a little bit late on everything, like
On
in our
everything.
30s and learning who we are as people.
Where's my
We should be
wine?
doing
I
it.
should be drinking right now.
We say that on a lot of episodes because we end up
I know
like
we're like,
going downhill fast, but hey, we're
but I
really
mean,
happy
this is a fun
people
movie.
sometimes, guys. We
Sometimes.
really are.
You guys don't even know. In 2022, it's going to be a new Sandra. Like, this is
She's gonna have
unrecognizable.
no sours. We're gonna have to like take away her rule that she can only do sours first because she's
hmm
not gonna have them.
It's happening. But this was fun. I like this topic. It had been a very, very, very long time since I watched this. So we hope you enjoyed this episode, us talking about Mean Girls and how we related to it in our earlier days. So, yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, and have a great New Year's. Well, actually, yeah, have a great 2022, I guess.
Yeah, you want to plug our socials real quick?
Yeah, we are horrible at this, but you can reach us anywhere at Story Darlings. So that's Story Darlings on Instagram, yeah, Facebook. Um, I forgot what we're on Facebook, Twitter, and you can also email us if you have any comments or anything that you think we should talk about at storydarlings@gmail. And have a wonderful year. Hopefully, we will not see you, but see you on future episodes,
Stick to those New Year's resolutions.
at least for a month.
Yeah, just for a month.
That's my goal every year, 1 month.
All right. Until next week. Bye.
Bye.